Yes, yes, people. What is going down? It's MC Noble here, DJ Ash Noble, whatever you want to call me. And we're back with another stream. This stream is actually, believe it or not, it's a non music related stream. So, what I wanted to do in this stream is I wanted to talk to you people and almost do a little bit of a reminiscing stream regarding something of mine that sadly failed. And a few people might know about this, a few people might not know about this, and I'm not really sure like how many people are gonna really know about this, or how many people will know about it and be like, yeah, do you know what? I remember this, but I always kind of come back to this, and I always think about this idea that sort of failed because I was kind of disappointed with the fact that it failed. And when I first originally thought of the idea, I thought it was going to be something that might actually do a lot more better than it actually did. And we had a good run, but sadly, it just wasn't made to be. And I just thought, when I first thought of this idea that, you've got something here, Noble, that could do well. And although it gave me it gave me about 4 years worth of stress, I still sort of like loved every moment of it. And like I said, it's a shame. So you might be thinking, what the hell are you going on about? And why the hell is there a picture of a sort of Minecraft background? And why is there a picture of the ITV Studios logo and the eyes just being turned into some scribbled N that looks like it's been done on paint in Windows 10? So I will explain. So about it was to be precise, it was in October of 2016. So October of 2016, I hadn't been MCing too long. I'd been MCing just over a year, and I was just sort of starting to get back into the music. And I was at that point where I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with the music, if I was going to take it seriously or if I was going to kind of just, do it for a little bit of a laugh, not knowing the things I would know now that's happened kind of thing. So at that point, I was heavy into my video games. I was video gaming, and I got a PS4 for Christmas in 2014, and it was like just an amazing thing. And around this time, I was a heavy Minecraft player. I used to play Minecraft all the time, and I used to be on that thing like just from morning till night. I'd be building cities. I'd be doing all kinds of things on Minecraft. It was mainly building cities. I wasn't a fan of the survival mode, really. I mean, I played it odd times. I did a few things with it that just sadly never worked out. So, anyway, so 2016 of October, I had my other gaming YouTube channel, which I think it was called Ash 101 at the time, or I might have just, I can't really remember what it was called. It might have even been called like Network Studios or NTV Studios or something. But to cut the story short, I was playing on Minecraft. I was building a city, and it got to the point where I was building this sort of like residential area. It was almost like your typical sort of UK housing estate, not so much like a council estate, but more like a where you would have like your avenues, and you'd have like the houses with the garages, and you'd have like the walks and the close, and you'd have the sort of like more nicer houses, not necessarily like council houses, if I'm sure you know what I mean. So anyway, so around October of 2016, I had this idea. I wanted to do some things on my channel, and I wanted to do like a role playing series, and I wasn't really too sure what I wanted to do. So first off, I was online with a couple of friends, and we tried doing a cooking show. And this cooking show just failed. It was supposed to be like a role play. It was supposed to be filmed like you'd be watching a cooking show on TV. And it was a guy stood in a house that I'd built in Minecraft in his kitchen, explaining how to cook, and it was just supposed to be cringy and funny, but I think it was just too cringy that we never even decided to go ahead with it. So then my friend actually said, well, why don't we do like a drama role play? And at first I'm thinking, a drama role play? Like, how is that even going to work? And then I started thinking about this, and I can't remember if it was that day or if we started filming it the day after, but the ideas just started flowing into my head. And suddenly it was like this creation had just been born. It was like something that was just absolutely fantastic. So I started thinking, and I thought, well, hang on a second, why don't we almost do like a rip-off of the soaps that you see on TV, so like your typical Emmerdale, Coronation Street. So I decided that I wanted to start this little role-playing series called Park Drive Drama. Now, I got the name because when I was building the street that you see in that picture there, that street was actually called Park Drive. So we called it Park Drive Drama, but as the series sort of progressed, we just tended to nickname it PD. So it was like we're filming an episode of PD. Have you watched the latest episode of PD? And it was just, it sort of either got nicknamed PD or just Park Drive, but the official long-term name, the full name, was Park Drive Drama. But I'd actually called the street that you see in that picture Park Drive, but there was like some other streets in the role play that we decided to use. So I began starting this little series, and I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with it. So the only sort of ideas that I had was just to sort of watch the soaps on TV and kind of see like what they're doing, and not necessarily copy them, but just take sort of like day-to-day stroke real life storylines that you see on TV, and just kind of like have this series about people's lives that live on this neighborhood. So I thought, well, the series, we've got to kind of start it off lightly, and we've got to wheel it in. So I decided to start this episode off with a family, and they were called the Parson Family. And it consisted of Martin, which was the dad, Sarah, which was the mum, and there was two kids, Billy and Lisa. I believe Billy was 6 at the time, and I think Lisa was 10. And shortly into the series, Billy had a birthday, which he became 7 years old. So we started off the episode just with Martin and a character that I voiced called Steve Woods, who was one of Martin's mum's best friend's son. So Martin and Steve, they were really close friends, and Martin's mum and Steve's mum were also close friends. So the episode started, basically Martin had this leaking sink, and basically he's been using this local plumbing guy who's actually just turning out to be no good. And Steve Woods actually came to say that this plumber had been in the pub over the weekend, and he'd been sort of like almost slagging Martin off, and about the sink and stuff. And the series sort of progressed from there. So we started off with this leaking sink, which evolved to Martin sacking off the plumber, getting another plumber who was actually wanted by some jippos, and jippos got wind he was in the area doing a plumbing job. And also Billy had accidentally kicked a football at one of their caravan windows, which hyped them up even more, which led to them getting in the plumber's van, putting the handbrake on, leaving it to roll into the garage and smashing through the garage, causing a little garage fire among the leaking sinks. So the series just sort of started with Martin's bad week, really. And then a couple of episodes in, we introduced Martin's mum, which was Noreen, which we'll get onto her very, very soon, because she turned out to be one of the series' most loved characters, probably the most well-known character, and probably the best character in the series. So she came in sort of just after the sort of garage had gone through, and she was playing this sort of like naggy mother, and sort of like, I told you so, and you should have listened to me, and why did you wait so long, and what's going on, and just that mum that would really annoy their son, where you'd think, oh, just go away, mum, I don't need you giving me the sort of I forget what the word is, giving me the lecture, giving him a lecture, even though that this sort of like incident that happened wasn't as such Martin's fault. Noreen, in some sense, was trying to find some way to blame him, and you should have been more sensible, and you should have been more careful, and leaving things lying around, and if you'd sorted things sooner, and that sort of thing. So the series just progressed from there, and it just really was me, a bunch of friends on the PlayStation 4 that decided to start this role play together. And they joined into my Minecraft map, and I just basically took a screen recording through the PS4, and I filmed these little scenes, and then I just literally edited all the scenes together. I made my own little opening intro for the show, my closing outro that just had all the like names of the people that were just basically in the series, so I was just basically crediting them, because at the end of the day they was taking time out of their time when they could have been building their own map or having a game of Call of Duty, and they come on and film scenes, but I knew at the time they enjoyed it. So obviously the series progressed, and it just started to get bigger. We had some more characters join the show, and then just I decided to voice some more characters myself, and the show just progressed, and we just started into this big sort of drama show, which went on to last on and off about 4 years, and then sadly in 2018 I had to, 2016, 17, 18, about 3 years, possibly about 3, nearly 4 years, to be precise. But in 2018, it was almost, I think it was around June of 2018, we sadly decided that we was going to sort of call the show a day, and just sort of like film one sort of final episode, which was, it was quite upsetting for me. It was quite heartbreaking, because I'd sort of created this creation, and it was kind of like me sort of putting it to bed, when I just had so much more expectations for it. And this is really Park Drive Drama, an idea that failed. So, like I say, it was a gutting thing that Park Drive Drama did actually fail, and things went wrong, and things didn't actually work out. But sometimes, things just aren't made to be. And I've always thought, since Park Drive sort of come to an end, I've always sort of thought, do I bring Park Drive Drama back? Do we do like a season 2? Some people even said while Park Drive was running, why don't we stop and do a season 2, rather than just having this sort of like continuous sort of series. And part of me now thinks maybe I should have gone down that route of maybe doing like so many episodes per season. So we'd have like a season 1, and then we'd have like a break, and then we'd gather up like a season 2, and then I'd say like, right, we're doing season 2, who wants to be a part of it, rather than just constantly running it like every week all throughout the year. But you learn from your mistakes, and I just wanted to try and be like a soap opera on TV. I would have run every day of the week if I could have done. But the point being is, I had to work with what I've got, and some things just sadly failed. So the first 50 episodes of Park Drive Drama was probably some of the best episodes of the drama series itself. We had some of the most amazing characters that played in the show, and we had some really good moments. It was just a good show in itself. So I played the character Steve Woods. That was my main character, if you like, and he was a normal person at first, and then he went through a tragedy when his mum sadly fell into a lake and drowned. And sadly we lost Shirley Woods, which was Noreen's best friend, which was another character I voiced, which I did briefly mention before. We'll be getting on to her, don't worry. So I played this Steve Woods, and once his mum died, he was kind of sort of out for revenge, but kind of not, because she died accidentally, although Noreen was with her at the time, and he kind of somehow thought that, you know, even if it was accidental, she was still sort of to blame. And his dad had already died, and his brother in a car crash, so it was just him and his mum. He was caring for his elderly mum, and she was taken by drowning in the river, not by dying of an illness or old age. So he thought, you know, she still had years left, even though she was elderly. So through the first 50 episodes, he deteriorated, and I think it was either episode 16 or 17, he actually got drunk, and he decided that he was going to set fire to Noreen's house, which you'll see on the picture behind Park Drive Drama. There's like a little wood sort of looking building, and that's known as the cafe. But before it was a cafe, it was actually known as Noreen's house. It was Noreen's house at first, and he actually set this fire drunkenly. At the time, Martin and Noreen had a fallout, and Noreen was actually planning on moving away. She'd lost Shirley, and, you know, everybody she sort of knew, because she's quite elderly, had sort of like more or less died off, and it weren't the same round here anymore, and she wanted to go somewhere and live her final years happily. So she was planning to go. Lisa, which was Martin's son at the time, she wanted to sort of still see Noreen, and she didn't like the fact that Martin had fallen out with her. Billy was kind of sort of on his dad's side, but Lisa just decided not to listen anyway, so she went over to Noreen's house to see Noreen, and she ended up getting caught in the fire. Sadly, did not make it. It was a tough time for Martin, so Martin and Noreen buried the hatchet, and Noreen decided to stick around in Park Drive, and she went on to become the most loved character that you would ever see in Park Drive Drama. Martin would go on to work out that Steve had set this fire. Martin did go on to get some form of payback, and it was actually in our Christmas episode. It was our first Christmas episode where Martin and an old friend of Steve Woods had come back for revenge. They both teamed up, and they locked him in a garage and set the garage on fire as almost like a you know, an eye for an eye kind of thing. But Steve didn't die, and to save the day, the following day was actually Ryan Woods, which was a cousin of Steve Woods, and that was another Woods character that came into the show, and he was actually played by a guy called Ryan. I forget his last name. Ryan Duke, that was it. A good lad. I had a laugh with him, and he actually was quite a good part of the show, to be fair. It was real quiet at first, and then he sort of got into the swing of things after sort of playing a good few episodes. So yeah, and then shortly after that, I decided that I was going to make my Steve Woods, I was going to make him actually leave the show, because also Paul, which was played by my good friend Steve, also was involved in that house fire, as he went in to try and save some people, and he actually ended up burning his legs, and his legs were sort of partially paralysed. But he got a little bit of revenge on Steve when he found out, and hit him with a stick, and sort of said, look, your time's up round here, pal. You know, you're not liked round here no more. People don't like what you've done. You know, so he just decided that he was going to leave. So I wrote Steve Woods out of the show. Now, Noreen, the Noreen character is, like I say, it's one of the most iconic characters that you could ever have. And still to this day, I still do the voice because it's just such a. I have a laugh and I always joke and prank people with a voice, and it's just such a funny thing. I even dressed up on Halloween and did a DJ gig dressed as a grandma that was supposed to. It was supposed to represent Noreen, and it just represented her so badly. But it was so funny, and the funny thing about it is I had to actually go to an all-you-can-eat buffet before I actually went to the gig, and because I was travelling all the way from Hull, I actually got dressed up in my Halloween outfit before I left for the gig, and I had to sit in this all-you-can-eat buffet dressed as a grandma. Now, bearing in mind, I never ever play like dressing up as women. I've never done cross dress. I've never stepped into sort of like transvestite. I've never looked into any of that. It's never interested me. The only reason I dressed up as Noreen was, one, it was Halloween. Two, I was gonna do like a YouTube sort of like comedy series where I was gonna like dress up as Noreen and do all these like sort of like phone call pranks and going round town pranks and filming these videos. Old lady tries a kebab for the first time, and just daft shit like that. But it never came to a light at the moment. But I got like a wig, I got like just a little dress, and began sort of creating this real life Noreen. But she was iconic, part of Park Drive Drama. So where did I get the idea for the character from? Well, at the time, we wanted Martin to have a mum in the series. So Martin's mum didn't actually come in on the first episode. I think she came either in the second or the third. She was like something that just, because when we first started the show, we really had no idea where it was going. There was no writing anything down. There was no planning. We just sort of winged it. And I thought, right, I think Martin should have a mum that lives across the road, because we really based this sort of on like this almost like neighbourhood. It's like a small neighbourhood. It's it's a bit like a little local community. It was almost like a little village, like a little suburb of a city basically. So it had like a shop. It had a church. It was almost like its own little village, but it was just off like the main street of a city. So you come to the end of the road and there was like a massive Tesco's supermarket kind of thing. But it was almost like its own little village. So I pictured like the little post office, the little fish and chip shop, and the guy who has his mum living across the road, and that's sort of where the idea sparked up from. Now, the voice that I do for Noreen, that came about from the Benidorm series on ITV. So for those of you who have never watched it, I suggest you go and watch Benidorm, because it's funny as anything, and you can get it on Netflix as well. It's a series on Netflix, and it's really funny. It sadly doesn't run anymore, but there was a character on there called Noreen Maltby, and Johnny Vegas, who played Jeff Maltby, that was his mum. But he always like pretended in the series that she wasn't his mum. Like he was a bit embarrassed by her, so he said like she's his PA. But she was like this real typical old woman, liked doing a crossword, liked to game a bingo, tries to work out questions, and she was a little bit simple as well. And she was really really funny. She had a really funny side to the Benidorm series. So to cut the story short, I actually sort of picked up her accent, and I sort of started voice impersonating her voice, which was quite funny. So I picked up this voice, and I thought to myself, why don't I bring in a character called Noreen, and why don't I just voice the character? Because I did the old lady impression quite well, but I didn't want to completely copy the sort of like person from Benidorm. I wanted to sort of take the inspiration from her voice, but sort of make my own character out of it. So I started off with this Noreen voice, and if you go back to the sort of like original episode she was in. The voice is a lot different to what it is now and to what it was like towards the end of the series, because I got better at the voice and I just picked up this, because I was doing it so much. Like, I was doing it maybe 2 times a week for the episodes, and then I was practicing, like, outside of the episodes just to pick up on the voice and sort of, like, make this voice a little bit better. I literally just decided that I was going to do this, like, this old lady. And she turned out to be such an iconic character she played, that I remember rightly. I could be wrong, but that I'm pretty about 99.9% sure she played in every single episode. So because obviously it's my series, I had to be in the map. I had to invite people into my world and game, and I was almost like the camera guy as well and the editor. So I had to make every episode. I could, they couldn't do an episode if I was ill. If I was ill, the episode didn't go ahead. So I was on anyway. So that I remember. I had Noreen practically in every single episode of Park Drive, and I mean there might have been maybe like one episode maybe where I just didn't put her in a scene, but that I remember rightly, she was practically in every single scene, and she was almost kind of like the Ken Barlow of Coronation Street. She was in every episode. Like, he's been in practically like every episode of Coronation Street. I know he's not been in every one, but he's been a part of the show since the beginning. So like literally, Noreen was kind of like the same. So she just progressed into this like amazing character. And I can do the voice pretty well. Well, I can do the voice like perfectly now, and it's just quite funny to do. Like I say, pranking people on the phone and stuff. And she sounds a little bit like this. So let me get into character. Right then. Oh, I don't know if I don't know if that was as good as I could like normally do it, but right then, how you doing? Aye, it's Noreen here, and I'm just here to let you know that I'm here with me husband Derek and my son Martin and my grandson Billy. And I tell you now, we've had an absolutely wonderful day. But I tell you now, me back, it's absolutely killing. I mean, it ain't like it used to be back in the day. Well, you see, the thing is, as I tell everyone, I was a lot younger back then. I mean, I'm no spring chicken now, I'm just an old widow that's just waiting for me deathbed. The coffin's calling. Coffin's calling. Aye, but we're still breathing and waking up each morning. That's main thing. So yeah, that's pretty much how the voice went. But I think when I first started doing Park Drive, I think the voice was more like, Martin's son, how you doing? And I think I just played her a bit more like, almost like dumb and simple, because that's how the Noreen out of Benidorm was like, oh, Jeff's son. Is this how you complete the crossword? And then, obviously, over time, I just almost like made her not as thick and made her more like a, I'm telling you right now, Derek, love, if you go and walk out of that door right now, you won't be walking back in, and let me tell you for nothing, I can't be doing it no more with you coming and going and us rowing like this. I didn't marry you to row. I married you to love you, and at the moment I ain't loving you. So yeah, the voice turned a little bit more, just not as simple, I guess. Like not a thick person. What an amazing character. So like I say, I think episode 1 to episode 50 was like almost like the best sort of time of Park Drive, which was a little bit of a shame really, because we had some really good episodes beyond episode 50, and I think in all total, if I remember right, I think we got to about episode 141, and that was when we called Park Drive the end. That was when we said, look, we can't do this no more. We're not doing this no more, sadly. We're going to film one final. Well, we filmed like a final week of Part Drive. We had like, I think it was either 2 or 3 parts, and it just sadly wrapped up Part Drive, which was a little bit of a shame. But yeah, it wrapped it up, and it was a little bit of a shame. But yeah, so why did Part Drive fail? I mean, we'll speak about some more of the characters, but why did Part Drive fail? And I know why Part Drive fails, why it failed, and why it went wrong. So there's a lot of things that Part Drive failed on, and some of them was just things that I could not help. There was things that was just very sort of like I guess out of my hands and sort of out of my control. So the first thing was the amount of people that we could have that was like part of the show. And the thing about this is at the time I think you could have 6 people in a PlayStation chat party, and I think you could have about 6 people in a Minecraft world at the time. So obviously you had your 6 people in, and no more could join. No, it would say the map was full. So that was already a little bit of a letdown, 6 people. Although 6 people wasn't too bad, but sometimes, it was just one of them things where, you wished you could just have a few more people. Because sometimes, like, you needed some, like, people that were necessarily playing a character in this scene to do, like, something in the background. If we could have had more people, like, walking the streets, if we could have had, like, we're doing a scene in the cafe, would have been good if we could have had, like, more people sat in the cafe, like they're actually, having some food or something. That was sort of like a letdown of the show, which is why I think it didn't do as well. Another thing was as well, was people actually got bored of the series, and it was hard to find new characters. So, for example, from episode 1 to 50, we had a good range of characters that was playing in the show. But towards episode 50, some of them were starting to get a little bit bored. And some of them, which was on a shit behalf on my end, didn't want to film an episode. But instead of telling me, they just would not turn up to an episode. So, for example, say we're filming Part Drive, and say we've got to episode 47. So episode 47, for example, let's just say there's a character called Nathan. So Nathan might do something in episode 47, which would sort of mean that he would have to be in episode 48 to be able to kind of like carry on with what he did in 47. So let's just say the end of 47 he kills somebody, and then 48 is supposed to be almost like what happens next. He's just killed someone, and he's got to like bury the body, for example. And then let's just say that the person who plays Nathan just decides he's not going to turn up for the episode, and then obviously, like for me, we're like a person down. So, like, that's a person who can't do, like, behind-the-scenes stuff as well, because everyone sort of just took turns. So if there was, like, an house fire, someone would, like, go invisible on the Minecraft map, and they'd obviously, like, spread the fire and stuff. It was sort of, like, complicated but clever how we sort of, like, worked around it and how we sort of did what we did, because it was a clever way of doing it, and it worked well. But, it had a lot of hard issues as well. But there was a lot of creative thinking behind Part Drive and how it was actually made and put together. And that was where I thought the creation side of things would actually, like, would make the series take off. But people was getting bored. They wasn't turning up for episodes, and then the episodes were getting more boring because I was having to like rechange ideas and stories because certain people weren't turning up. And obviously I know like people get nothing out of like doing this show. People wasn't getting paid for it, and there was nothing that was actually there was nothing that was really, in some sense I didn't have to do it, but because I thought we was friends and we had like a trust and a friendship, like if you were ill or if you didn't want to do the show no more, like, just come and talk to me and say, look, I don't want to film this role play anymore. I'm getting bored of it. I want to do some other things instead of, wasting my time filming these series. And then I would have said, like, well, look, we can make your character come out of the show. We can sort of make him leave, or we can kill him off, or we can plan something to make him leave. But please do, understand it. It is a YouTube series as well, so like it goes out to an audience. And obviously, like, we've got to kind of like end a character's story in the show rather than just making them disappear. But yeah, there was a lot of people that would just sort of like, they wouldn't really communicate with me when it came to not wanting to record episodes. And then sadly, I think in early summer of 2017, we actually stopped Part Drive, and we took a break from it. It was just after episode 100. We took a break from Part Drive, and then I wasn't sure if I was going to bring the series back. And then I got a couple of people saying, look, do you still do that role play? We'd be interested in joining, blah, blah, blah. One of my long-term friends who had a character in the show, his son just got a PlayStation as well, and had come on and had sort of heard his dad voicing a character, and kind of like, do you know what, I want to do this as well. So he played a character for a short while, and then I met a couple of new friends, and they wanted to voice characters, and we just ended up launching the series. We did it exactly on the year anniversary to when it first started, so it came back on the same day, and it replayed again, and we had some pretty cool storylines come about again. And then sadly, in 2018, it started to go downhill again, did the series. People was losing interest, and I was waiting for people to film episodes, and it was just literally it was just going like absolutely not how I wanted it to go, which was sad. And then I thought, well, do you know what, I ain't gonna do this no more. And it wasn't a passion of mine anymore, and it felt more stressful than it felt fun. And when you're not enjoying something and something's not working to a point, you just you cut it. You cut it off, and you say, look, I can't do this no more. So that's sadly what I had to do. But ever since I've done that, I've always kind of like looked back on it and thought, do you know what, I'd actually love to do this still, or I wish we still did it, or I wish things had gone better. I wish, like, because when I first started the series, I thought this was going to take off. Like, I thought if someone picks up on this on YouTube and actually likes it and they share it about, they're thinking like, hey, this is wicked, this guy's gone on Minecraft and he's actually ripped off like an episode of EastEnders. And then because some of the scenes and the storylines were quite funny, I thought it might have attracted a bit of an audience, and people would have thought, I can't wait to see the next episode of the PD. But it sadly never turned out that way. But I would love to redo something with this series. And I've got some ideas, but I don't want to like jump the gun and do and set anything in stone, because it would be a hard thing to do. But I would really, really love to make an animated series of Part Drive, and I'd follow the original storyline, but I'd do things a little bit more better. So like, because I can sort of roughly remember like most of the things that have happened in Part Drive. So like, I'd probably still start like on the leaking sink, and then I'd like still move on to the old lady dying, and and stuff like that. And it'd just be an absolutely amazing thing. And then we'd have like this Steve Woods who would still set this fire and stuff. But we'd just do things a little bit more differently, and we'd just have things sort of like sort of like going a little bit differently, if you like. And maybe some things would take a little bit longer. So whereas like I think Shirley died in episode 6, so she'd maybe die a little bit later into the show, but still by the same cause. Do you know what I mean? and we just change things up a bit. But I would love to do like an animated series of this show. But I just thought I would actually come live and I'd sort of like almost talk about why it died and talk about the series. And I just thought it might give a little bit of light to the show as well. And if people want to go back and watch the original on my other channel, NTVI Player, then I just thought, you can, because even though the show no longer exists or ever runs, I still keep the original series up there just so you can actually watch it. And, if you do want to watch it, it's there to watch, do you know what I mean? Which is a really good thing. We had a lot of issues editing, things went wrong in the editing. Sometimes I just misheard something, like maybe a sound went out of time or a bit of music came in with a delay, and I've just, rendered it, not realised, and uploaded it, and then thought, oh, damn. And then, before you realise it's up and, people have viewed it. So, sadly, the series came to an end, but what a great run we had. Like I say, I voiced a lot of characters. So Noreen was that main one, Steve Woods was a main one. I also voiced a guy, he was a vicar called Reverend Damien, and he had like a really posh voice, and he was like, yes, hello, it's Reverend Damien here, speaking on behalf of the Park Drive Parish Church. So he was the vicar, he did like weddings and funerals. I voiced a character called Sean Scouser. Yo mate, it's Sean Scouser, like, mate, what's fucking going on in that? Yeah, I tell you now, like, I'm working around the Park Drive area doing a bit of bricklaying and that. Tell you now, like, and I absolutely love it, working, getting a wage, going home, eating my chicken. So yeah, he was just your typical Scouser guy. His voice actually progressed and got better as the series went along. He came in, he was a guy, he was actually a contractor who was working on the house after it had burnt down. He was actually working on Christmas Day, and he actually decided to join and get a job away from the contractors with somebody who was actually building round here. He was a builder round here himself, but he wasn't like a big mainstream builder. He was more like the type of guy who would sort of like build your garden wall, re-roof your house. Not the guy who would like build a whole house from scratch. But so I decided to keep this character in the series. I had another character. He was actually called Bill Woods, and he was Ryan Woods' son, and he was I think he was the uncle of Steve Woods. And this guy he had passed with Park Drive before the series. There was like a whole sort of backing story, and he was actually I believe he was a brother of Shirley's. He was Shirley's brother, but he'd been like almost like he'd made a lot of mistakes in the past, and he'd not been there for his kids when they grew up, and he'd been a violent person as well, and stuff like that. And he came back, he came to the area, he hadn't even been here for Shirley's funeral or anything, but he came trying to make amends. He was trying to track down his kids, and he was trying to make amends. There was another character in it called Ethan Woods, which was Ryan's brother, and he was played by another friend of mine. So the Bill Woods voice was like a guy who, he was sort of like real sort of croaky and rough. So I pictured the guy like somebody who just lived this bad life, really. He was a little bit of a bad guy. He was a little bit of a villain. He had a scruffy beard, but he was he was never like well off with money, so he'd smoke rollies instead of normal cigarettes, and he'd like a good drink. Typical denim jacket guy. Guy who thought he was hard, but he wasn't really that hard. Guy who screwed up, has a bit of anger issues, so if anyone wound him up, he would sort of shout, he'd punch a wall kind of person. So I voiced that person, and then that guy turned out to be a criminal, when he wanted to try and get in Noreen's good books, got into a bit of trouble with a doctor, pushed him and he fell off a balcony and died. He went down for the murder. And then at the end of Part Drive, he busted out of prison and did this massive like drama saga with a gun and held people hostage and actually killed another person in the making and ended up going back to prison. Well, I think actually no, he got shot dead himself. Police actually shot him. I think it come to the point where he had a gun pointing at the officer had a gun pointing at him, and the policeman actually shot his gun first and ended up killing Bill Woods. Well, so people think. I mean, we never filmed any further on than that, so technically he could have survived the gunshot, but you know, I think at the time we was just gonna make out he died. Another character I voiced Sarah, which was Martin's girlfriend at the time. It was Billy and Lisa's mum, and her voice was her voice just actually went like, Martin, I can't believe what we've been going through. Absolutely awful at the moment. So it was just a real, almost like a real sort of slow, it was just a weird voice, but you know, I'm a male, and at the time we couldn't actually find any females that were actually wanted to join the show, so it was a case of like, right, I've got to do the females, I've got to take one for the bitches, and I've got to put these girl voices on. So it was one of them really, one of them sad but fortunate things. And then another character I voiced was actually a character called Mary, and she was one of my friend Jamie's wives at the time in the series. There was like Jamie was quite a rich kind of person. He owned a truck company. He lived in Oak Manor, which was it was like it was a big house basically. It was a big house, and it was just quite big. And she was almost like this sexy, seductive woman, and she was actually two-timing Jamie. And it came to a light, they split up. But she had a real weird, seductive voice that I put on, and it went like, "Ooh, Shadow baby, you wanna come for a ride?" It was just a real, like, it almost sounds a little bit like Herbert the Pervert, which he sounds like, "Say, Stewie, see how Chris opened his window?" But her voice was just a little bit more like, "Ooh, baby." So a bit more like high-pitched, and you know, almost sounds like what Herbert would have sounded like younger, I suppose. But when I did her voice, there was no like impersonation of Herbert. I didn't even think about Herbert at the time. It was just I tried to put on like a light girl's voice, and it just ended up sounding like, "Ooh, baby, what you saying?" Do you know what I mean? So it was a really weird one. But she was another character. And then I also voiced the original plumber, who was that bad plumber with Martin's leaking sink at the beginning of the series. And this guy was supposed to be a Geordie guy. He was like, "Hey up, kidda. Yeah, I tell you now, like, so I come in and I do the plumbing. I fucking do the pipe work, like, and the fucking kitchen still leaking all over the place. And I'm like, fucking Raj cunt, like." So that's what he was like. I've got better with the accent now, probably even beyond the Park Drive show. And then in and out of that, I did Lisa's voice. Her voice was, "This is a good book." So that was Lisa's voice, but she barely was hardly in the show. It was just so she was almost just a fill-in character. And then I thought, you know, what are we even going to do with this character? So we just killed her off in the house fire. I thought, you know, it'd be a good show for Martin, because the guy who played Martin, he was a really good role-playing actor. He was the best that we had, and he actually did so well at playing his character that I just thought, do you know what? Like, he's just, like, literally got to, you know, like, just play these, like, sort of, like, big, intense storylines, because I know he could take them, and I know he could play them so well. So he had to play this guy who's lost his daughter, and he played it so well, and I'm so glad that we killed her off in a way, because he plays this like big, almost like plays this big sort of he was just really good at these emotional scenes, and it just worked out so well in that sense. So like I say, I also voiced his wife, which you heard that, and she actually only came into the show. I actually made up the voice and made up the character for her when the daughter actually died. I'd never filmed her before. She was always, I think she was mentioned, but she was just never seen. She would always if we did a scene on Martin's driveway, she'd be inside the house, we just didn't have a character for her at the start. So I also voiced a baby called Baby Daniel. So a lot of my first lines of that character was just goo goo, ooh hee, just making daft noises really. And then we did make Daniel get a little bit older, and I did something like Daddy, Daddy, something like that. But yeah, good times ahoy. So like I say, the show sadly died, but I just thought I'd do this stream and sort of speak about Park Drive, and just sort of what it was about, and that's what it was about. That was Park Drive. So thank you all for watching. If you watch this after the live, I know I like stream this quite late, but because I don't really have like a solid internet connection, although like if I tether to my PC at night, it works all right. But if I'd have recorded this and I'd like babbled on for 51 minutes like I've done now in the stream, it would have taken forever to upload it, and I probably would just have never have uploaded it. Like it would have got recorded and just left on the PC. So I thought at least if I stream it, it's gonna get done, and at least people will see it, because it'll just go out automatically onto YouTube. But yeah, Park Drive, an idea that never failed. So if you want to go and watch the original series, go over to the channel and watch it.